I'm going to show you a short clip, and if it makes you angry, this video is a love letter directly to you.
We give you the one person who could play Victor Von Doom.
New mask, same task.
Okay, so now that we've set the stage with 50 red shirts and green hoods and one wildly overpaid yet inordinately talented leading man, let's get into it. And when I say that, I mean let's get into inexplicably defending a monopolistic multinational megacorporation's cynical and desperate batshit wildcard casting decision. Okay, so Diz Marvel's choice to drive a shipping container of gold doubloons to Robert Downey Jr.'s lovely Hamptons bungalow in order to wrangle him back into the MCU has been, and I'll put this kindly, divisive to say the least. From what I can gather online, it seems the majority of MCU heads are highly unsatisfied with this unexpected turn of events in the back end of the franchise's already wildly uneven Multiverse Saga. There's definitely some anger out there in the fan base, but more than that, it really feels like most fans are simply disheartened, disillusioned, disappointed, and disengaged. And it's not because people are tired of RDJ and don't want to see him back in the MCU in some whacked out multiversal iteration. Really, it's because most fans are acutely dialed into the transparently commercial rationale for bringing back the poster boy of Marvel's considerably more profitable Infinity Saga. Simply put, this shit ain't fooling anybody. And despite the fact that I'm about to spend 10 minutes defending a calculated corporate casting decision almost certainly dreamed up by bean counters and not artists, it's not fooling me either. Still, perhaps foolishly, I think this shit could be extremely fucking cool. First of all, ask yourself, have you ever seen anything like this, even remotely? I mean, think about it. Throughout 10 legendary appearances as Tony Stark, Marvel and RDJ spent 11 years building up a C-list Marvel Comics hero into one of the most beloved and watchable superheroes in cinema history. If you had the pleasure of watching Tony Stark's pitch-perfect metamorphosis from misogynistic military defense contractor to the fully realized and evolved Iron Man who made the ultimate sacrifice play in real time, you'll understand how much of an accomplishment this characterization actually was for Marvel Studios. Now, fast forward 5 years to present day, and Marvel plans to resurrect that heroic face of Marvel's yesteryear, but this time re-envisioned as the most iconic villain in their entire publishing history. And despite the fact that my adult brain is screaming,
Seems like a cash grab,
my inner 13-year-old is thinking, this could potentially be the coolest, most genuinely comic booky thing to ever happen in the MCU. Because, for better or worse, and as we all know lately it's been the latter, we are still in the MCU's Multiverse Saga. And I mean, like, seriously ask yourself, what is the fucking point of doing a Multiverse Saga if you're not willing to take advantage of the wigged out treasure trove of batshit narrative, thematic, and character avenues it affords you? Because up until now, if you think about it, the MCU's Multiverse Saga hasn't really lived up to its name. As of today, the Multiverse Saga contains 25 properties, comprised of 12 series, 11 films, and 2 specials. And confusingly enough, considering the grandly stated Multiverse Saga moniker, only a fraction of those projects even concern multiversal storytelling at all. In reality, the only installments that do are Loki, What If, No Way Home, Strange 2, Quantumania, The Marvels, and Deadpool and Wolverine. And Loki was more of a time travel series than a multiverse one. Strange 2 should have been called Doctor Strange in 2 universes and a montage, and the Marvels and Quantumania only really dealt with the multiverse in lackluster post-credit scenes. So that leaves us with 3 projects that actually center around the multiverse: No Way Home, What If, and Deadpool and Wolverine. No Way Home primarily uses the multiverse as a plot device for nostalgia-driven purposes. I'm not complaining. I love you, Toby. What If is fine, but let's be honest, it doesn't advance the larger narrative of the cinematic universe, which means it's not really relevant here, and Deadpool and Wolverine uses the multiverse for the express purpose of shoehorning Wolverine back onto the MCU playing field. And whatever the fuck that third act was. But anyway, I bring up all those other projects to contextualize the larger point, which is, in spite of all the ink that's been spilled in recent years concerning MCU multiverse fatigue, this franchise has kind of barely scratched the surface of the multiverse as a narrative framing device. which leads us back to RDJ Doom and the next two Avengers films. Introducing a villainous character with Thanos-level bad intentions that happens to share the same face as the hero who sacrificed his life to save the universe last time unlocks so much potential for engaging conflict and emotional pay dirt among the characters who have no idea how to reconcile the fact that this multiversal tyrant looks exactly like their former savior and good friend. How does Peter Parker react to that? What about Strange? What about the rest of the Avengers? This is exactly the kind of off-the-wall narrative sandbox that only the comic book milieu can allow storytellers to play around in. And to me, if done with care, that sounds like a pretty enticing prospect. So to illustrate this next point, I want to do a little role-playing with you. I'm just kidding, guys. You can put your dicks away. Okay, but seriously, put your f***ing dicks away. So imagine you're Kevin Feige. Shave your head. Say the words corporate synergy in a deadpan voice. Get your Captain Marvel baseball hat out. Whatever you got to do. So you're Kevin, you're sitting in your big boy chair, and you receive a fateful phone call about a certain Marvel actor's painfully publicized guilty verdict. And thus, you've just been forced to fire the highly talented, highly in-demand performer you've been slowly building up to be the heir apparent to Thanos in the current saga of your multi-billion-dollar cinematic universe. What do you do? So to my mind, you have about three choices. 1, recast Jonathan Majors, continue with the Kang Big Bad storyline that, let's be honest, many fans were getting a bit tired of anyway. 2, pivot to a different villain, cast a different actor. Or 3, shake up the deck and do some crazy shit. For numerous reasons, but I would wager the Jonathan Majors situation sat squarely at the top of the list. Feige and the bigwigs at Diz Marvel needed to course correct from the biggest shitstorm of compounding crises they've encountered since the inception of Marvel Studios. They had to make a big swing that would A, make people forget about Kang and Majors, and B, try to pump up those steadily declining box office projections a little bit. And I know you might be thinking, how the fuck is rehiring the one actor who's almost guaranteed to bring in an extra $200 million at the box office, shaking up the deck and doing some crazy shit? Isn't that just a desperate, creatively bankrupt casting choice made by a film franchise that's clearly way past its prime? And to be fair to the haters, what's up, haters? I will admit that casting RDJ at this moment in time in any role of the MCU does reek of desperation. But creatively bankrupt? I'm not really seeing that. Generally, when something is creatively bankrupt, it's played out, done a million times before, and totally expected. You can say a lot of things about casting RDJ as Dr. Doom in the next two Avengers movies, but you definitely cannot say it's played out, done a million times before, or totally expected. Because, admittedly, I did assume RDJ would make a cameo appearance in Secret Wars or something. But I thought, like I'm sure most of you did, that he would show up as some iteration of the character we all know and love him as, Iron Man. Casting him as Doom was something I would have never imagined they would actually do. So against all of my better judgment and knowledge of the way Hollywood works in the 2020s, I do think there's a lot of potential here for a really interesting take on Doom and a swift return to form for a once unassailable film franchise that desperately needs a big win. Think of it this way, if Endgame was a celebration of the first 10 years of Marvel Studios, Secret Wars will be a celebration of the entire 40-year history of Marvel cinematic adaptation. And yes, I am counting Howard the Duck. Between utilizing the full scope of what multiversal storytelling can offer and Disney's 20th Century Fox acquisition in 2019, Marvel Studios is now narratively and contractually unobstructed in every meaningful way, fully enabling it to create a truly jam-packed Avengers film in Secret Wars that will almost undoubtedly be bigger and grander than Endgame in scale. Now, before I bust a nerdgasm here, just to temper that gushingly hopeful forecast just a little bit, despite probably being bigger, I would honestly be surprised if it was better considering Marvel's poor track record in the post-pandemic years, and we can also have a conversation some other time about the artistic validity of turning movies into cameo-laden event-viewing theme park rides. Please don't judge me, Marty. But at the risk of sounding like a dweeb here and offending my Italian-American Lord and Savior, Marty Scorsese, I have to admit that I am excited for Secret Wars, and I'm definitely excited for RDJ Doom. I've been holding on to hope since 2019 that Marvel can deliver an awesome theater experience like Endgame again, and despite the fact that most people seem to disagree with me here, it was actually this casting decision that gave me a shred of hope that they might be on track to accomplish that. Because all the transparent commercial reasoning aside, a casting choice like this ultimately does cut right to the heart of what makes comic books a unique and highly entertaining storytelling medium. Sure, it's pulpy and stupid, and yes, perhaps even desperate, but I simply would not believe you if you tell me you're a genuine fan of this stuff, yet also claim to not get excited when you see RDJ show up in the Doom getup for the first time. Because let's be real here, that's cap. Alright, thank you guys so much for watching. Like and subscribe for more content like this, and I'll catch y'all soon.